Discover how this dishwasher revealed hidden talents and transformed millionaire chefs' lives. Each day, Sarah steered through the clangor of the diner kitchen, her hands engulfed in sudsy water, scrubbing away the remains of meals that others devoured with ease. Her co-workers stole glances, their eyes riveted on the unremarkable dishwasher, holding back scorn for what they deemed a menial task, a stepping stone, not a destination. Little did they know how the weight of the plates correlated to the weight of her dreams. Memories of her grandmother's laughter and the sense of family gatherings dripped into her thoughts like liquid gold. She housed a secret flame ignited in youthful summers spent stirring sauces and rolling dough. Yet here she stood, unseen and unheard in a swirling sea of grease and judgment. But in the solitude of 11 p.m. closure, when the clamor faded and silence filled the space, Sarah became restless. The kitchen, her sanctuary, transformed into a stage for experimentation. Tonight she felt bold. With a fierce flick of her wrist, she grabbed shame-tarnished ingredients and melded them together. Chicken, spices, and a touch of nostalgia. Her heart raced with anticipation as she forged a dish that layered her grandmother's cherished casserole with newfound vigor. The aroma flooded her senses, a reminder of home, pushing aside the shadows of doubt that clung to her thoughts. Every bite was a defiance against the functional, an art born from the ordinary yet glimmering with possibility. Yet beneath the simmering excitement lurked an insistent question. Would this pursuit shatter the fragile stability that protected her children? Responsibility gripped her tighter than the dishcloth in her hand. Each plate she scrubbed reminded her of her purpose. A roof over their heads, food on the table. Risking the sanctuary they had built together? Could her dreams outweigh their needs? As night after night blurred into vibrant culinary sessions, the regulars began to notice. She shared bites with them cautiously, watching their eyes widen, their smiles widen. A kitchen once filled with mediocrity transformed into a beacon of creativity. The diner came alive with murmured conversations about the hidden gem in the back. Then a flurry of affluent chefs stumbled in one evening, their bustling energy electric. They stumbled upon her signature dish, her grandmother's casserole reimagined. Surprised fascination etched their faces, flavors sparking recognition, and awe. It was transformative. For Sarah, a yearning swelled within. Recognition was intoxicating, but it intertwined dangerously with the looming specter of their expectations. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The encouragement swirled around her, seductive and relentless. But as her culinary confidence grew, so too did the incessant pressure. Each dish met with praise, yet also unfathomable scrutiny. She closed her eyes, feeling jagged breaths break through the newfound thrill. What if they discovered she was merely a dishwasher pretending to be something more? What if her success turned against the very fabric of her family? As relentless ambition battled her need for stability, her heart trembled at the thought of losing everything she held dear. Caught in this tempest of conflicting desires, she overheard whispers between the chefs about the frenzy of success. Was achieving her dreams worth jeopardizing the safe haven of motherhood? She gritted her teeth, determination stark against simmering fear. Straddling the edge of two worlds, she faced the ultimate reckoning. Should she embrace brilliance, or retreat to the familiar shadows of the kitchen? Uncertainty churned deeper in her, clawing at her resolve as moments of clarity danced with insecurity. With every sunset, each rising possibility left her breathless and torn. Could she genuinely pursue her passion without unraveling the life she loved? The clock ticked, bold and sadistic, as she teetered on the brink of a monumental decision, the weight of dreams and responsibilities shackling her in place. The sink roared to life one more time, bubbles bursting in a frothy cascade. Yet tonight it felt different. Sarah's hands moved on autopilot, but her mind was ablaze with introspection. The heady aroma of her latest creation lingered in the air, a fragrant reminder of the unexpected connection she had forged with her culinary past. As if in direct challenge to doubt, her spirit thrummed with the rush of inspiration. The exploratory cooking sessions had become a lifeline, a raw, potent form of expression she had long buried under layers of duty. But recognition, she realized, came at a cost. Each encouraging smile she received from the customers fed a new kind of anxiety. Praise transformed into expectation, a demanding tide pulling her further into the depths of her own aspirations. She wiped her brow with the back of her hand, feeling the weight of their anticipation drape over her like a heavy cloak. What if she stumbled? What if they found out she did not belong to the world she was weaving? In that stillness, she felt the sharp pang of her responsibilities cut deep. The faces of her children flashed in her mind, innocents unaware of the tumult roiling in their mother's heart. Every time she stepped away from her role as a mother to embrace the whisper of her dream, she questioned if her attempts at crafting magic in the kitchen might unravel their lives. Her biggest fear crackled alive. Pursuit of her dreams rendered at the cost of her family's stability. Yet inspiration had a way of flipping the narrative. In her growing discomfort, determination seeped into her veins. She envisioned angles and flavors, colors and textures, possibilities that beckoned beyond the dishwasher's confines. The thought of remaining stuck stirred unease, and if she stayed paralyzed by fear, would she be any better than the regrets she carried from years lost to silence? Summoning that spark, she reevaluated her budding interest in cooking. What if she took a calculated leap, channeling her kitchen enthusiasm into something actionable? She craved a fusion of security and exuberance, manifesting not just a dish, but her identity. Nights blurred into visions of classes or competitions, all reaching for a horizon just beyond her grasp, but each choice echoed with the ripple of anxiety. Her gaze settled on her coworkers, the skeptics who defined her role with skepticism rather than respect. Reflections of uncertainty flickered in their eyes, mirroring her own conflicted spirit, stuck between the banal and the extraordinary. Could she shift that perception? With resolve crystallizing in her heart, she plotted her next move. It wasn't enough to simply be recognized. She needed to claim her space strategically, unapologetically. The path of ambition would unfold slowly, a layer to peel back each day. She envisioned gathering support, a plan resembling an intricate recipe with delicate steps. Collaborating with chefs who had tasted her dishes would help cement her standing. Conviction shifted. If she wore her ambition with pride, perhaps others would follow suit. Yet a whisper of dissent remained, nagging the edges of her resolve. Would they accept her authenticity, a dishwasher challenging the hierarchy of a culinary landscape? The biggest step loomed before her. She knew it was time for a bold proposal to the diner owner himself. She would ask for a spotlight to showcase her dishes during a special event. But the stakes were high. Would they embrace her vision or cast her aside? The air crackled with possibilities, excitement tinged with fear as she prepared for this approach. Meticulous and restless, breathless with anticipation, Sarah clenched her fists, wondering if she'd finally leap into the arena where her hidden talents dared to shine brightly. Would she journey forth as the chef she believed she could be? Or retreat into the shadows yet again? It was a moment of truth, the question lingering. Could she unveil the masterpiece within? Or would the toll of her ambitions cost everything she held dear? The answer waited, tantalizingly close. As she clocked in the next day, the smell of wet dish soap mingled with the scent of freshly ground coffee, yet Sarah felt a crackling anticipation in her chest. The proposal loomed like a storm cloud, heavy and charged. She could almost hear its thunder in her mind. Today was the day she would finally confront her fears and seize control of her destiny. Her hands moved mechanically through the morning's tasks, stacking plates and organizing silverware, but each minute seemed to expand into a canvas of possibilities. Abandonment of her familiar rhythm felt close, just a heartbeat away. Stealing glances at the bustling kitchen, she caught sight of the head chef expertly plating dishes, a blend of artistry and precision that sent ripples of longing through her. She had always admired his skill but never considered that one day she might ask for guidance rather than simply observing. It cut deep to think that others might see her as just a dishwasher, her name lost in the clatter of clanging pans and stove hissing. Yet this morning a spark ignited in her. She could redefine that narrative. Determined, Sarah approached her table of colleagues, their gossip and laughter washing over her like a tide threatening to swallow her whole. Today she would not shy away. "Hey," she called out, her voice steadier than she felt. "Can I grab a moment of your time?" Surprised, they paused, glancing her way with guarded curiosity. It was seemingly absurd, a dishwasher asking for attention, yet she steeled herself against their skepticism. I want to propose something, she continued, her heart galloping as she spoke. I've been experimenting with some dishes of my own, and I think we could make something special for a night, maybe a showcasing event. You know, something that highlights what we can offer beyond the usual menu. The silence that followed felt deafening. A flicker of uncertainty crossed their faces, but there was something different about Sarah today. Gone was the timid figure who had cowered beneath the weight of her ambitions. This woman was alive with conviction. One of her co-workers finally broke the silence. You think that diners will want to try your experimental dishes? He challenged, the skepticism palpable. I think they'll want to see what we can create together, she countered. What we do isn't just about routine. It's a craft. She felt the urgency of her choices pressing down on her, but realized that she was the one who could potentially shift their collective perspective. This wasn't merely a personal crusade. It was a call for acknowledgement of her team's unrecognized talents, perhaps even transforming how they viewed their work. With every word she spoke, her determination solidified, her vision becoming clearer. The room held its breath, the atmosphere thick with potential. What's it going to take? Another colleague asked, a hint of intrigue creeping into his voice. In that moment, she understood her own brilliance, her ability to inspire, to grasp skepticism and turn it into enthusiasm. This proposal was not just about showcasing her culinary passion. It was about energizing the entire team to realize their worth. I'm asking for support, for a chance to present our abilities. Let us discuss our ideas. Let us step into the spotlight. Even her own words electrified her. Eagerly she reached out, feeling the burgeoning excitement pulse around her. Sarah spent the rest of the shift crafting her plan, envisioning cuisines that spoke to her heart. As she washed dishes, she imagined flavors melding and colors bursting forth, the rhythmic clatter of plates becoming synonymous with the heartbeat of her new ambitions. But deep inside, she could still feel the remnants of fear clinging to her, whispering doubts that coiled like tendrils. What if this was not enough? What if the owner dismissed her proposal entirely? The day wore on, excitement mingled with trepidation, as she kept her focus on the light ahead. By the time her shift ended, she had circled back to her earlier determination. It was now or never she would request the audience she so craved with the diner owner. As she stepped into the office, Sarah took a deep breath, poised on the precipice of a new existence, uncertainty cracking at the edges of her resolve. As the door creaked open, she felt every inch of the heavy weight of ambition pressing down upon her shoulders. Would they embrace her idea as she envisioned, or would they view it as a lunatic's folly? With every moment passing in silence, she felt the flames of urgency flickering higher. The moment of truth had arrived, and even as she grasped the doorknob, she understood that everything hinged on this encounter. Would she soar or would she fall? The office felt suffocating as Sarah stepped inside. A small cubicle cluttered with papers and forgotten dreams. The walls seemed to lean in on her, and the hum of the overhead light buzzed like a trapped wasp. She clenched her fists, her anxiety churning violently, yet each heartbeat reverberated with a newfound resolve. Mr. Henderson? Her voice cut through the silence, though it trembled slightly. She had rehearsed this moment 100 times, yet the reality of it gripped her with confusion. The diner owner looked up from his desk, a pinched brow and skeptical eyes measuring her worth. Yes, he replied, his tone a mixture of curiosity and something more disinterested. I have an idea, she breathed, each word spilling out like the colors she envisioned for her dishes. I've been thinking about showcasing some experimental recipes that reflect our talents as a team. I believe we can do something extraordinary together. There was a waver in her confidence, but as she spoke, she could feel her fire growing against the cool shell of his expression. Experimental recipes? What exactly do you mean? He prodded, his posture rigid, lacking any indication of interest. I imagine an evening where customers don't just come to eat, but to experience the art of cooking, the stories behind the dishes, the passion that we put into our craft. Sarah paused, searching for the right words while battling the butterflies that danced wildly in her stomach. It could increase interest in our diner, attract new customers, and spotlight all of our talents. It's not just canapés. It's about showcasing potential. Potential? He leaned back, crossing his arms, his skepticism evident. How do you expect a dishwasher to transform the menu? This sounds more idealistic than realistic. The sting of his dismissal hit her hard, but she refused to let it extinguish her spark. But what he didn't know about himself was that he had the power to inspire change. Sarah thought fiercely, turning her inner monologue into a weapon. It'll show that we can serve more than just standard fare. We have hidden talent waiting to be recognized. Not just by us but also by the diners who come through our doors. It's about teamwork. His expression shifted slightly, and she saw a flicker of hesitation glint in his cool demeanor. Encouraged, she pressed further. Let us collaborate, create a special menu together. I'll lead a brainstorming session with the kitchen staff, bring their ideas to life, and we can promote it as something exclusive. It'll give everyone a chance to shine and reclaim a sense of pride in their work. As she spoke, Sarah remembered each chef she had admired, their grace and passion, and she felt herself rising, fueled by their unspoken dreams. The thought sank deep. She could create that opportunity not only for herself but also for them. Do you think we'll get reservations? He asked, brow furrowing. If it's marketed right, absolutely. Sarah's voice steadied as the enthusiasm pulsed through her veins. People are always interested in discovering something new, something that feels real. This is our chance to take risks to dazzle, provoke conversation, and showcase who we are. The silence stretched like elastic, and Sarah felt the weight of the moment compressing her. She was naked before him now, her ambitions laid bare. What if he rejected her? After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Henderson's lips twitched. You have guts. I'll give you that. You're asking me to trust, yes. Trust and support, she urged, her heart racing as she saw the slightest hint of sincerity in his eyes. I'm ready to take responsibility for this. If I fail, the blame is mine. All right then, he grudgingly conceded, you can present it to me next week. Show me what you've got. Relief surged through her, yet a lasting apprehension clawed at the edges of her triumph. This was just the beginning. She had to rally her team, mold their ideas into something that would not only wow the owner, but also transform how each of them viewed their worth in the kitchen. As she left the office, exhilaration mingled with anxiety. The battle had shifted, but new challenges loomed in her mind. What if the team didn't support her vision? What if they thought her dreams were too grand? Her heart hammered as she stepped back into the kitchen, buzzing with thoughts. The real work had just begun, yet the stakes felt higher than ever. With each flavor she hoped to explore, the taste of her newfound courage began to feel as real as the smoke rising from the stove. Would they rally behind her? Or would doubt extinguish her ambition before it had a chance to ignite? Stepping back into the kitchen, Sarah's senses collided with the delicious aroma of sizzling onions and rich broths bubbling gently on the stove. But instead of comfort, it was a bracing reminder of the task ahead, an utter chaos of clanging pans and the kinetic energy of her co-workers, all oblivious to the revolution she envisioned. The din seemed to echo her inner confusion. Could she really lead a team that had only ever seen her as the dishwasher? She inhaled deeply, choosing to ignore her fear as she approached the others. Attention everyone, she called, her voice cutting through the kitchen clamor. A few heads turned. I have an idea I want to share. A way for us all to show what we can really do. Some of the kitchen staff exchanged glances, a mix of curiosity and skepticism, deepening the creases of their foreheads. Sarah could feel the weight of their gazes, the skepticism embedded in their tight-lipped expressions. Wasn't it often the case that a dishwasher's dreams were drowned beneath the bustling rhythm of daily routines? But she wouldn't let that be the narrative today. I envision a special night where we feature our individual talents, experimental recipes to engage customers on a whole new level, she said, her words gaining momentum as she spoke, galvanizing her thoughts into a coherent vision. Experimental recipes? One of the cooks, Marco said, furrowing his brow. Doesn't he sound too appealing if you ask me? What if they flop? She sensed the chilling undercurrent of disapproval swirling around the room. What if they bring in more customers? What if we impress them with our creativity? She felt her conviction swelling, igniting something deep within her. Listen, each of you has something unique to offer. I've seen the way you all work and how passionate you are. This could be a chance to shine and reclaim our pride. A humming tension filled the air, uncertainty intertwined with the scent of simmering garlic. Sarah's heart raced, and the adrenaline began to fuel a determination that had been dormant. It was time to break the cycle of complacency that had gripped not just her but the entire kitchen. One night, she continued, each word infused with urgency, to present dishes that tell our stories. If we collaborate, I believe we can create an experience, something our diners will remember. The silence felt heavy as she looked into their eyes, gauging their reactions. Would the camaraderie fostered in countless shifts translating into support? Or would they dismiss her once again as just the dishwasher seeking attention? Okay, Sarah, Marco said, leaning against the counter, his posture relaxing slightly. This could be a long shot, but I'm willing to give it a try. Let us see what we can come up with. Is a brainstorming session due? Relief mingled with disbelief coursed through her veins. The spark she had ignited gradually began to catch. Absolutely. Let us gather after our shifts and brainstorm ideas. Everyone's input matters, and together we can create something remarkable, she said, heartened by their shifting attitudes. As she rallied the team, Sarah felt invigorated not just by their eagerness to participate, but by the collective energy that coursed through the kitchen. The previous doubt that weighed heavily on her shoulders began to lift. They were no longer separating themselves from each other by job titles. They were cooking with a unified purpose. However, the thrill of initial success was laced with the ever-present fear: what if Mr. Henderson still rejected their final concept? What if her efforts weren't enough to inspire the others or compelling enough to win over someone set in his ways? As the day wore on, excitement and anxiety intermingled like flavors in a simmering pot, each vying for prominence. They brainstormed ideas, tested potential recipes, and began to forge connections where none existed before. Yet, deep down, Sarah could feel that the greatest challenge lay ahead. The true test wouldn't merely be proving herself to Mr. Henderson, but ensuring that their collective vision shone through, one that they could all be proud of. But as the evening concluded, leaving a residue of optimism behind, Sarah realized a potent truth. It wasn't just the menu that needed to transform, but their entire perception of each other and of themselves. With her heart pounding and her team's enthusiasm radiating, Sarah stepped away, determined but acutely aware that her nascent leadership role would be scrutinized in the days to come. Could she live up to their growing expectations? The uncertainty loomed. Would their vision transcend into a beautiful reality? Or was she marching them toward a simmering disaster? The next week promised to be both exhilarating and terrifying. Echoing in her mind like an unanswered question, this was only the beginning of a journey that could ignite or extinguish her ambition entirely. Sarah arrived at work a little earlier the next day, her mind a flurry of thoughts about the brainstorming session. As she shuffled through the kitchen door, the familiar clatter of pots and the hiss of steam welcomed her. Yet, today the sounds felt different, charged with potential rather than routine. Each step marked a commitment to a cause, one that was shaping into something tangible, something that extended beyond her previous role. She glanced at the makeshift meeting space they had set up, an unused table littered with a medley of spices and vegetables. It seemed so vastly different from the space where she'd scrubbed countless plates. Now it was a canvas awaiting creativity, where identities could merge into innovative gastronomy. Hey Sarah! Marco appeared beside her, knife in one hand and a half-chopped onion in the other. Are we really going to discuss some crazy ideas? His smirk was both playful and challenging, a small victory in their evolving rapport. Definitely. What if we start with what drives us? She suggested, her heart thumping. Let us share what makes our cooking personal. What have we always wanted to add to the menu but never had the chance? Over the next hour, they channeled their energy into discussing flavors as if revealing secrets long suppressed. Each chef unearthed stories wrapped in memories. Marco spoke of his grandmother's tamales, Rachel mentioned her experimentation with Korean spices, and even the often silent prep cook, Sam, whispered about his affinity for Italian cuisine. Imagine, triggers resulted in embers of creativity. Flavors fought for attention, bold ideas clashed against traditional methods while the atmosphere thickened with camaraderie. As Sarah observed their growing engagement, something shifted within her as well. Perhaps this truly could work. Still, doubt perspired like beads of sweat on a summer's day. The fear of undermining the progress loomed prominently. The team could just as easily withdraw as they could flourish. What would happen if one slip of criticism reverted them to their old patterns? What if her idealistic dream turned into a burden? Pushing aside the uncertainty, she took a deep breath. Let us narrow it down to 3 core dishes we can present, she proposed, deflecting her self-doubt away from the forefront of her mind. We'll showcase each cuisine's story with flair. The room buzzed as they jotted down ideas, drawing parallels between their culinary backgrounds and the tastes they longed to share. Sarah keenly noted her teammates' body language shift. There was a zest in their eyes, an urgency in their laughter. This was no longer about her leading, it was about them weaving a narrative together that as they cleared the space hours later, the residual energy still crackled. However, the weight of anticipation altered the texture of her excitement. The first official pitch to Mr. Henderson loomed, a man typically unyielding to whimsy, more inclined toward flat profits than emotional stories. Can I actually convince him? She wondered anxiously. Who am I to persuade someone of his caliber? Doubt rattled within her. But just as she had begun to crest a wave of uncertainty, the kitchen's collective resolve surged through her once more. If they didn't entrust their potential to him, they would miss the very chance they had fought to create. Gathering her spirit, she decided it was not just a presentation they sought. It was affirmation of their identities, showing they were not merely numbers beyond pockets of grease and grime but artists in the shadows. Sarah resolved, this time it wouldn't be about her proving herself, but them showcasing their meaningful culinary tales. The thought sent a jolt through her. Invigorating her spirit, the sense of purpose reinvention opened avenues beyond. But as she finally tucked away her notes, a nagging sensation held her captive. What would she do if they were met with indifference? What if the magic they crafted went unnoticed again? Sarah exhaled, determination hardening into a crystalline resolve. The moment of truth was approaching. Her heart raced at the thought. Each idea, each gamble would hang in the balance, and now it was about more than dishes, it was personal. As the clock ticked down to their meeting with Mr. Henderson, she knew both her team and her journey lay at a critical juncture. Something had to give. Would they truly let their voices be heard? Or would they retreat into silence once again? The sunlight streamed through the narrow kitchen windows, illuminating dust motes that danced around Sarah like fragments of her chaotic thoughts. Each beam felt urgent, accentuating the transformative nature of what lay ahead. The day's pitch was not simply a chance for recognition but a crucible in which her team's unity and her personal resolve would be tested. She entered the kitchen, her senses heightened, the aroma of sautéed garlic mingling with the sharpness of freshly sliced lime. Each scent elicited a memory, tethering her to the present moment while nudging her toward greater aspirations. What if Mr. Henderson dismissed their ideas, she pondered, feeling the weight of potential rejection pressing against her chest. The stakes were no longer just about her career advancement. They were tied to the hopes and dreams of those who worked alongside her. Hey Sarah, ready? Marco's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. He leaned against the counter, a mixture of confidence and nervous energy radiating from him. It was infectious, grounding her focus. She realized this was a shared moment of vulnerability. They were all on the precipice together. Absolutely, she replied, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. Let us remind ourselves of what we've created. Our stories are powerful. As the team gathered around her, she noticed the subtle shifts in their expressions. There was tension, but also something that bordered on excitement, an unspoken agreement that this was their moment. Sarah initiated a brief round of practice pitches, encouraging each chef to share their dish concept out loud. As her colleagues spoke, she observed their passion igniting the room. Marco brought a smile to her face as he animatedly described his tamales. Rachel's eyes sparkled with delight as she spoke of her spicy kimchi, and Sam finally opened up about the rustic Italian dish inspired by his family history. Each story was laden with emotion, a narrative of their culinary identities that enriched the air with authenticity. The more they shared, the more Sarah began to grasp that they were setting a foundation not just for the pitch for their kitchen culture. She felt a sense of purpose growing within her, morphing the knots of fear into threads of strength. It was her cue to embrace the role of a leader who facilitates rather than dominates. Remember, she addressed them, we are not just selling dishes. We're sharing pieces of ourselves. If we go in there as a united front, it won't just be a presentation. It'll be our heartbeat. At the mention of their collective heartbeat, she sensed a palpable shift, a solidarity sewn together through vulnerability. Let us bring our authentic selves. No masks. Just us and our food, she encouraged. The kitchen pulsed with a renewed energy as they finalized the presentation. They were no longer individual contributors but rather a tapestry woven from their distinctly colored threads. But as they packed up for the meeting, the earlier sweetness of anticipation soured into the anxiety of the unknown. What if their vulnerability turned into a weapon against them? What if Mr. Henderson refused to understand the significance behind what they were creating? Walking toward the door, Sarah's heart raced. It was around this time that the earlier confidence began to waver. Could she maintain the facade of brave leadership while grappling with her fears? As they stepped outside into the bustling city, her mind spiraled back to their earlier brainstorming session. What had started as an initiative to share culinary narratives had morphed into a crucible of self-discovery. She leaned deeper into the realization. Perhaps the challenge wasn't just about convincing Mr. Henderson but also acknowledging the depths of her own leadership potential. The dilemmas of her identity as both a chef and a leader mingled within her thoughts, each aspect fraying at the seams of her resolve. The stakes were personal, embroiled in emotions and history, but as she looked at her team by her side, she found determination threading through. The noise as they approached the restaurant's crisp glass doors, anxiety flickered within her anew. Maybe their passion would shine, or maybe it would be snuffed out altogether. But one fundamental truth crystallized. She was ready to confront everything the moment demanded of her, both for herself and her team. Sarah inhaled deeply, preparing for what lay ahead. They stood at a juncture, caught between fear and possibility, ready to weave their stories into something greater. Unbeknownst to them, Mr. Henderson was already assessing the pulse of their kitchen, unfiltered and unyielding, and today, the stakes were about to get significantly higher. Would they surpass expectations? Or would their dreams fade in the harsh light of indifference? The moment they stepped inside, the restaurant buzzed with a frenetic energy, the clinks of silverware and the hum of social chatter filling the air. It was an atmosphere charged with anticipation, a stark contrast to the simmering doubts swirling in Sarah's mind. This was more than just a pitch in front of Mr. Henderson. It felt like a rite of passage for her and her team. As they approached the designated table, Sarah's breath caught in her throat at the sight of Mr. Henderson. He was a figure of authority, a titan in the culinary world, flanked by a couple of industry insiders whose reputations preceded them. How could they possibly make an impact under that scrutinizing gaze? This was not just about culinary innovation. It was about their very presence, their stories and their struggles. With the team gathered around her, Sarah mentally steeled herself. She began to realize that the fear of judgment could either drown them or fuel their resolve. Just as it had in the kitchen, vulnerability had the potential to bridge the disconnect. She stepped forward, feeling both the weight of her team's aspirations and her own instincts pushing her forward. "Good afternoon," she started, her voice steady. "We've come here today to share not just dishes, but our stories, our journey as chefs." She noticed a ripple of interest from the panel as they exchanged glances. For the first time, Sarah felt the agency of her words and the authenticity they carried. This was not merely about presentation. It was about establishing a connection. As Sarah introduced each dish, she infused her description with personal narratives. Marco's family heritage surfaced as he passionately explained the cultural roots of his tamales. Rachel's quirky discoveries around fermentation breathed life into her presentation, and Sam spoke of his grandmother's kitchen, where every meal was a piece of art birthed from love and tradition. The stories were interwoven with emotions, memories, and pride, a powerful tapestry that resonated with the room. But midway through, an unexpected challenge emerged. Mr. Henderson leaned forward, skepticism etched across his brow. "While your passion is commendable, how do you intend to translate that into sales? Emotion only goes so far in this industry." The words hit Sarah like a slap, her heart racing as the energy in the room shifted. A nagging thought persisted. Was this a critique of their culinary vision or an attack on her leadership? She caught Marco's eye. He was there, waiting, encouraging her to take a stand. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt a surge of resilience. "While sales are indeed important," she explained, "the heart of our dishes and our success lies in how they connect with people. Our food tells stories that consumers want to hear. Their emotional engagement is what drives their willingness to pay for authentic experiences." Mr. Henderson's expression lightened momentarily as he pondered her answer, but doubt still glimmered in his eyes. Passion means little in a market flooded with options. What makes you unique? In that instant, Sarah realized this was not merely a test of their culinary creativity, but also their ability to articulate their vision succinctly. This was about demonstrating their uniqueness not just through flavor but through conviction. Decisions loomed before her, pressing against the urgency she felt. It was now or never. Our uniqueness originates not only from the dishes themselves, but from our diverse experiences. Who we are as individuals directly influences how we create, she countered passionately. We may be new voices in a chorus of culinary innovation, but together we are harmonizing a flavor profile that speaks to the disillusioned customers looking for authenticity. The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Sarah felt a newfound strength surging through her. This was her opportunity not only to represent her team but to redefine the narrative of their kitchen. But just as hope surged, uncertainty clouded her mind again. Would her passionate plea resonate with the fiercely pragmatic audience? Each second felt elongated, stretching the tension taut like a tightrope. Then Mr. Henderson leaned back, a flicker of intrigue dancing in his eyes. Perhaps there's more to your culinary stories than I initially perceived, he mused, a smirk creeping across his face. Let us see if you can back that up with what you're proposing. Sarah's heart thudded, a flicker of possibility igniting in her chest. Her adrenaline coursed through her veins. Yet the stakes still felt impossibly high. The narrative was reversing. What was next? Would the chance to transform their passion into success break them or propel them forward? As she locked eyes with each member of her team, a collective determination ignited between them. Together, they had the power to fight through the uncertainty and embrace the unknown. Confidence began to settle in Sarah's chest, but doubt still loomed. The response was still hanging in the air, a pendulum between approval and rejection. Sarah's mind raced. If she could harness this moment of inquiry into a call to action, it could be the turning point of their journey. The stakes had just intensified, but now she faced the pivotal question. How could they turn this moment into something greater, not just for them but for the very essence of who they were? Panic threatened to envelop Sarah as she processed Mr. Henderson's challenge. The stakes had escalated from a creative display of passion to a battle of commercial viability. The energy in the room felt electric, thick with expectation. Each moment stretched, amplifying the internal whirlwind of anxiety and possibility. Could she deliver? In that instant of profound uncertainty, a small voice deep inside her began to formulate a plan. It connected the dots between their culinary vision and the business end of their dreams. There had to be a way to convey their authenticity and drive home how it could resonate with customers in a market saturated by mediocrity. Let me share a perspective, she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. We see food as stories told through flavor. But stories also sell. We will not only create meals. We will craft experiences that invite customers into our world. As she spoke, Sarah's mindset shifted. She visualized not just plates of food but entire culinary narratives. She imagined a community ignited by shared experiences, meals evoking nostalgia and emotional connections. The thought exhilarated her. The deeper she dug into what they were presenting, the clearer the path appeared. Picture this, she continued, her eyes flaring with excitement. Every dish serves as an emotional touchpoint. We can leverage that through targeted marketing campaigns that emphasize not just flavors, but the origins of those flavors, the stories behind every ingredient. We can invite customers to be part of a journey. The room warmed to her ideas, the team surrounding her feeding off the electric charge of her conviction. She turned to Marco, gesturing triumphantly. Think of the social media potential. Videos showing us source our ingredients, the laughter shared in the kitchen, the joy of a meal. We highlight the authentic process behind our culinary creations, drawing customers who seek genuine experiences over mass production. Mr. Henderson's brow furrowed, his skepticism gradually replaced by curiosity. You're saying that the emotional engagement translates into marketing strategies? Prove it. Show that what makes you unique can actually convert into demand. Facing him, Sarah felt her heartbeat pace fast, but determination took the helm. She had long brushed aside marketing as a foreign territory. The very notion intimidated her. Yet, here was a chance to confront that fear head-on, roll up her sleeves, and grasp the reins that had once felt beyond her grasp. Creating loyalty is key, She articulated passionately. We need to build a brand that customers can relate to. They won't merely consume our offerings. They will advocate for them. Our backgrounds inform our food. This makes our story relatable and invites others into the enriching experience. As she spoke, her understanding deepened, unraveling layers of hidden competencies she hadn't recognized within herself. The ideas poured out like a wellspring, as if she were discovering new tools she had yet to wield. The prospect of crafting a unique narrative fused with solid marketing strategies ignited a fire in her. In that moment of clarity, Sarah realized that her initial fears could no longer tether her. Instead, they could fuel a newfound ambition. She had uncovered a well of creativity that extended beyond the confines of the kitchen into the world of branding. Yet as conviction surged through her, doubt also whispered a resolve. Would the team embrace this leap into a domain that had scared her for so long? They had thrived in their culinary arts together, but would they equally succeed at business? Mr. Henderson leaned back, contemplation on his face. Impressive. But understanding your vision isn't what's at stake now. It's about execution. You'll need to draft a detailed plan and pitch it coherently within the next week, or I won't be convinced. With those words, the weight of reality crashed down. Sarah felt an urgency sink in, the nature of the challenge morphing before her eyes into an opportunity for growth. In the depths of her trepidation lay a resolve to turn the tide. As her team looked to her for direction, Sarah could sense the unspoken agreement circulating among them. They would do this together. They were not just a team but a family bound by common passion and spirit. Yet a daunting question relaxed in her mind. Did she have what it took to guide them through this new terrain? The uncharted waters of the culinary business landscape loomed ahead, and Sarah's grasp on the situation began to solidify. But would this newfound path of ambition lead to triumph? Or would the daunting challenge ahead unravel everything? She could hear the ticking clock of their possibilities echoing in her thoughts. Time was slipping away. Would they emerge as culinary storytellers or fall victim to the very pressures that had galvanized them? With a week of relentless brainstorming, Sarah and her team had transformed their vulnerability into a robust strategy that excused no detail. Each chef's story, each dish they proposed radiated authenticity. Now they were not just cooks. They were narrators weaving an intricate tapestry of flavors meant to connect deeply with their customers. On the day of the pitch, Sarah entered the diner with a sense of purpose that had blossomed beyond her expectations. The air buzzed with energy, the scent of garlic mingled with her sense of accomplishment. This was the moment they would unveil their vision, showing Mr. Henderson the potential that lay not just in their culinary talents, but in their undeniable teamwork and shared dream. As they gathered around the meeting table, Sarah's heart raced in unison with the pulse of her team's enthusiasm. Today, she began, her voice steady, we're not just bringing forth individual dishes. We're presenting a full experience, an invitation to our culinary family. Her colleagues nodded in agreement, their eyes alive with determination. One by one, they presented their ideas. Marco spoke about his tamales, urging the room to remember the warmth of home. Rachel presented her vibrant kimchi, articulating how fermentation revived the soul of traditional cuisine. Sam concluded with a classic Italian dish, layered with stories of his grandmother's kitchen. Their passion enveloped the room, creating a magnetic atmosphere filled with promise. Mr. Henderson absorbed their presentations intently, a mix of intrigue and skepticism etched across his brow. You articulate your vision well, he acknowledged. But how will you execute this under pressure? Taking a collective, deep breath, Sarah stepped forward, ready to anchor their proposal. We'll utilize social media to build engagement ahead of our event, inviting customers into our story. Each dish will be part of a narrative, drawing them in even before they enter through these doors. She felt a wave of inspiration wash over her as she spoke, each word fueling her resolve. By establishing our brand identity, we will create a loyalty rooted in shareable experiences. Customers will not merely serve our plates, they will become advocates of our vision. There was a hushed moment in the room as Sarah's plea settled. She glanced at her team, their expressions conveying unwavering support. It was more than a pitch. It was a declaration of who they had become, a collective of culinary artisans committed to transforming their diner into a beacon of authenticity and creativity. After a moment that felt like eternity, Mr. Henderson broke into a contemplative smile. There's a certain authenticity in your presentation that's hard to dismiss. Let us give this a shot. His words hung in the air like the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread, granting Sarah and her colleagues the affirmation they had yearned for. As they left the meeting, pride surged within Sarah, radiating from her very core. This wasn't merely a victory. It was a turning point that reframed their narrative. The fear of being just a dishwasher dissipated as she recognized her place, the woman who had seized the moment, transforming her team's dreams into something tangible, a powerful foundation of growth and camaraderie. The day of the event arrived, and the restaurant pulsated with energy. The team worked in synchronicity, each member playing a crucial role, and as the first customers entered, Sarah felt exhilaration washing over her. They had done it. They had created an experience that reflected who they were. Innovators, dreamers, and culinary storytellers. As the evening unfolded, customers laughed and shared bites of food infused with heartfelt narratives. She watched delighted patrons savor flavors that carried the essence of her teammates' lives, each dish telling its own dramatic tale. Recognition rolled in, both from the diner regulars and new faces who had come in pursuit of culinary adventure. They marveled at the unexpected artistry of the menu, their approval affirming that Sarah's instincts had been right. Each positive review felt like a tangible trophy, a validation of everything Sarah had fought for. A sense of solid confidence settled in as praise echoed through the diner. Each reflection reinforced her belief. She had transitioned from hiding in the shadows of the kitchen to standing in the spotlight, recognized for her competence and creativity. This journey had not only transformed her own perspective, but had ignited a fire within the entire staff. As the night drew to a close, Sarah stepped back, surveying the joyful chaos that was once a place where she felt lost. Her heart swelled with justified pride. She had achieved something remarkable. It wasn't just about presenting innovative dishes but reclaiming an identity, inspiring each member of her team to embrace their worth and talents. In that moment of fulfillment, she made a vow to herself and her team. They would continue to nurture their collective ambition, pushing boundaries and crafting memories tied to each plate that left their kitchen. They wouldn't simply serve food. They would serve experiences woven together by the threads of their diverse stories. Looking around at the smiling faces, the grinning customers, and her team, who had believed in her vision, Sarah knew she had soared, conquering not just fear but also the doubts that had shackled her for too long. This was her moment. She transformed her hidden talents into visible success, proving that sometimes the most profound chefs emerge from behind the apron of a dishwasher. Now, it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel to see more exclusive transformational stories. Leave a like now to help us fuel the algorithm and reach others who need hope. Comment below to share your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey. And finally, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how dreams can flourish against the odds. Your support could change lives.